You, guys, I gotta be real with you. I honestly, I don't think I can do this Shane video. Like, I don't think that I have the mental fortitude to handle this. Listen, Diesel, you're a nice kid and all that, and you say smart things and you talk like you got a brain. But here's the thing. People don't want that. They want to see you just rag on the fucking idiot, all right? Now, we're going to sue him for emotional damages because I understand that, you know, you're strapped for cash and, you know, me, I was, you know, being a manager for influencers. Turns out sometimes they say bad things online and now we're all poor. But point of the matter here is that either you're going to make this video on Shane or I'm going to have you make a politically incorrect statement on twitter.com. So it's your choice. Either you can choose to aggravate Shane Dawson stands, or I can make you say something really offensive on Twitter, and then, you know, your career's screwed. And no price is bad price. Point being here is, make the video. I'm gonna call my guy up in Miami. We'll sue him for injury. These stands keep telling you to kill yourself. Honestly, bad people. Point being here is, I'm not as bad, so we'll get him, all right? Anyway, sorry, I understand I wasn't supposed to be in this video. It's good to be back, though. Am I right? All memes aside, I genuinely don't want to do this video. And it's not because I'm not passionate about it or that I don't care about the topic. I actually have a lot of things I want to say about Shane Dawson and his content because this is a philosophy of mine, right? And I've heard Casey Neistat say the same thing too. But when you look at a YouTube channel, I think of YouTube as like a long form version of like art. You know, in the same way that television is considered like a valid comparison medium to film nowadays. And I know YouTube's not at that level to many people like that are snooty poopy heads. But I genuinely think when you look at a channel, that channel is a body of work. It's an art and it says something. And I've said this before in my social repose video, but I explained why I think this is what his channel means and what it stands for, or what it means at this current point in time and all the content it has. And to be honest, don't think it's changed much in terms of like what it is. But what about Shane? Because he's had a lot of channels and done a lot of projects. He is most definitely a creative. And so I was interested to read this book. And it's boring as hell.
Welcome to Pittsburgh. Your train from New York is arriving on...
I texted you on my new phone!
Look at my sign!
Want to switch lives?
I'd rather eat my own shit. Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
But I didn't want to say that or do this video because genuinely I have never experienced such a awful fandom. I've been told to, you know, die by people of every race, creed, religion, gender, you name it, right? But I have never in my life experienced people so personally hell-bent on ruining me. These people are awful. It blows my mind. Like, no. You won't stand for actual social issues, but don't worry. You'll come to bat for Shane Dawson. This is where you draw the line. Yes, at a YouTube video, yeah. In fact, one person said I was causing Shane Dawson mental distress because my audience was getting ideas and harassing him, and that there were copycats of my hate videos that were popping up online mocking Shane Dawson. Now, I don't encourage anybody to go and harass any of the people in my videos, but the thing is with the entropy of the internet is that honestly, genuinely, some FPS Diesel viewers are genuinely that dumb. Don't worry, you don't know who you are, you're too stupid to realize. Point being here is though, is that a lot of these stans seem to think that it's okay to be so horrendous, which really is just a microcosm, a small issue, you know, in a larger issue that is the idea of the parasocial relationship. But you guys are seriously, it's awful. It was really awful, and I was pissed. And I don't get pissed often, especially at stans, but you gotta realize something, is that a lot of the time when I'm acting as FPS Diesel, it's not really representative of who the person is. I kind of see myself more and more becoming a character compared to the real life version of me. But I'll save the stan conversation for the end because I'm certain they're not gonna listen anyway. But let's talk about Shane's art.
I have to go visit my stupid dying grandparents in Arizona for Christmas. Boring. Then I'm hitting up Cancun with the Pussy Posse for spring break.
I'm sorry, what the fuck did you just say? Pussy Posse?
Oh, it's my Cornell boys.
Oh, that's so cute. You know, if you ever use that nickname again, I'm gonna punch you in the penis.
Okay, you're being very aggressive. The Pussy Posse.
Pussy Posse?
The Pussy Posse, Pussy Posse, the Pussy Posse, Pussy Posse, the Pussy Posse, Pussy Posse, the Pussy Posse.
But before we get into today's video, I just want to say that this video is brought to you by my merch. Oh, there you go. You got a lot of hair up here, you know, but this is my merch and you should buy it. So, I Hate Myselfie and Not Cool. Probably the best book to pair with the movie because they are surprisingly similar, and honestly, they say that, from his first vlog back in 2008 to his full-length film directorial debut, Not Cool. Yeah, okay, this was written around the same time as Not Cool. I know the movie and this book were written by Shane. It is not a ghostwriter. I can tell you it is because it has his wonderful comedy that he constantly gets canceled for.
Now that you have a bag, start filling it with your basic survival materials, like water bottles, canned food, toilet paper, Chris Angel's New York Times best-selling autobiography, in case you run out of toilet paper. And Keisha, in case the aliens invade our planet and you need a disease to kill their whole species.
I wanna suck your dick.
Save it for the aliens, sweetheart.
You know, the hilarious thing is that I'm almost certain he takes like Family Guy jokes word for word in here, but he's the one who gets in trouble, and yet Seth MacFarlane can keep making trash. So I don't know. But a lot of these jokes I can tell you haven't aged well. Point being here is that things like, let's see, I gotta scroll through this book. Yeah, we got date grape jokes. Date grape jokes they go over so well in the year 2020. Like, if you want to be really popular with Gen Z, you make date grape jokes because this is, like, it's aged really badly. I will say that. And also, it kind of feels like a vanity project when you get stuff like this, and it might be a little blown out right now, but this is a fan art, and the book is filled with fan art from teens that watch Shane Dawson, who are probably at my age now, like a little older than me. And I just find that really weird. Like, why are you, like, some of these, like, you have a 15-year-old, like, like, draw a picture and it's a fucking story about this lady who sucks dick. Like, now, is the book gonna win any Pulitzer Prizes? No, it's not good. In fact, there's things in this that annoy the shit out of me, and have annoyed the shit out of me from cover to cover. And I'm gonna go over that now. And then we're gonna talk about the stuff I liked about this, and then we're gonna talk about the movie and how these two things are similar and why I think they're similar. So first off, the shit that annoys me, the comedy. Now, don't get me wrong, comedy's subjective, but I really hazard a guess here, right? I'm gonna read a joke, and I want you guys to tell me whether or not you think this holds up or is funny. Now, I understand it was written a long time ago, and it's not right to judge comedy based from that time to this time. And I get that, it's a completely unfair comparison. But I can't sit here, right? I bought this rather recently, and I can't sit here and go, they put that on the shelf. One of my favorites is that Shane went to go get a haircut, and he went to go get a haircut at Supercuts. And I'm gonna use this story as an example for a lot of things in this. But let's start off with the character Destiny. Now, I Hate Myselfie is a collection of short stories, and I say they're short stories and not personal essays because the stuff in here that appears to be false or not true, you know, he's kind of like embellishing it to make a non-fiction book a little more interesting by making himself a more charismatic character. It's not Shane Dawson the person in these essays, it's Shane Dawson the YouTube personality, which is such a shame because I want to know more about the guy and who he's like in real life, not what he's like on a camera. I already know that. Show me what he's like in real life. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a person who watches Shane and you think that Shane on the camera and Shane off the camera are the same person, you're delusional because you're not the same person on Instagram that you are in real life and you fucking know it. So let's talk about Destiny. She's a Supercuts hairdresser, right? I'm setting the scene, right? So let me explain who Destiny is. And I want you to picture, you know what? I'll bring up a picture of what she looks like, what I think she looks like, right? Because I can say this because I'm Hispanic, right? But Destiny is a Supercuts hairdresser. Great already, great start. But don't worry, she has problems with her baby daddy. That's great. I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, Destiny thinks that Shane Dawson is a lesbian. You know, very typical Shane humor right there. And that might have happened. That one is believable enough. But you know, what else does Destiny have? Destiny has hoop earrings. Destiny is very loud and gives her opinion. Destiny is a chola, okay? This is what Destiny is, okay? You've seen this before, you know what this is? That's what Destiny is. Now, Destiny could be a real person. I've met people like that in real life, but I can't help but read this and go, damn, why does this feel like a stereotype? And I'm almost certain it's supposed to be a joke, but I can't help but sit here and go, what? But I'm gonna use this story a lot, and it's near the beginning, just in case you wanna read the book and you don't want me to ruin the whole thing. But here's the thing about this and all the rest of the essays that annoy the shit out of me, is that comedy puts the plot on hold. And I hate this shit in movies, and I hate this shit in books. Please do not put the plot on hold for a joke. I don't wanna know about how fat Kelly Clarkson is like, I don't even remember the joke. It was not even worth remembering. But like, it's just like, how many people, fat Kelly Clarkson, even when this book came out, that was like old news. Guys, if Shane's gonna write these personal essays, he could really improve himself by doing something like capturing, Jesus Christ, Amazon Alexa, what the fuck is your problem? Okay, let me tell you one of the big actual pitfalls of this book, because the comedy really isn't a pitfall. It's really like a personal gripe, and I kind of find it funny in like a yikes kind of way, you know what I mean? It's like an ironic sort of humor. This book takes on a certain layer of comedy that I don't think was intended, and I kind of enjoy that a little more. Here's what I don't like, is that the book does a lot of telling without a lot of showing. And what I mean by this, because yeah, I get it, a book's words is all telling, right? Here's the thing. It's a different kind of language you use to set a scene. Shane routinely tells us where we are, but if I'm someone who hasn't been where he is, I can't relate to it. Now, I understand the audience of this book, the audience it's targeted to, will be able to relate to it. But don't assume your audience is always able to relate to it. What if you have a homeschooled student who's never gotten their hair cut anywhere else but home? How are they gonna respond to you having to get a haircut, right, at a Supercuts for a school function? They can't understand it. Set the scene. What makes Supercuts worse than a normal salon? Say how dingy it is, how the lighting in a normal salon makes you appear more beautiful, and how this is dingy, right? You don't need to tell me how disgusting the grout is in between the tiles, but different details like that help set the scene. I want to be able to smell the salon. Tell me things that I can feel, right? Show me where we are. If I don't know what a Supercuts is, put it in my mind. Show me what it is. I'm not just going to do things like, Shane should have done this better, right? I'm gonna give examples, right? So I wrote a little piece about my time in middle school. And those of you who've watched the channel might know about my background, but don't worry, I'm gonna lay it out here. And this is what I think, right, would be better if we're gonna set a scene, right? And I'm gonna give the example that's good, and then I'm gonna give the example that's bad. Each morning, a sea of happy-go-lucky, green-clad children would gather in a gymnasium. Jesus rested on the cross, surveying the room, ensuring each child sat neatly in a line. Whispers and laughs would routinely echo amongst the high ceilings until she came in. She hovered as if under her dress was a Roomba, and she examined the rows of kids with a scowl on her face. Her habit would rest neatly on her stern shoulders as she approached a podium. In unison, the children would stand at attention and greet her. "Good morning, sister." She'd bless the flock and the children would disperse row by row to their class, never breaking rank and file. It would be like this every day in God's school. Okay, so for those of you that know, you might know this is my middle and elementary school experience. I went to a Christian school, I wore a uniform, and I did that every day, and I prayed all the time, and now I don't. But what this shows is what that was like. What I do is show different emotions, right? So I don't say the kids were wearing green uniforms. I give it more character than that, right? They're sitting in the floor of a gymnasium, right? But what are things you can tell me about the gymnasium? The gymnasium has high ceilings. The gymnasium has a podium at the front of it. There's Jesus on a cross, and he's above everybody else, looking down at them. The kids are all sitting in rows of lines, and then everybody quiets down when a nun comes in, right? And I don't say she is a nun. I don't say my principal was a nun. You know that the nun is in a position of power over the kids based on who she is. Good morning, sister. You say, oh, she has a habit. You know, she's a sister. You know these things. And I didn't say she was a nun, right? But Shane Dawson tells us who the nun is. Don't just say there is a nun, give it a little more character. And that'll just help your writing in general. That isn't just a Shane thing. It'll help anybody. The next, I think, absolute failing of this book is the dialogue, because we would never write dialogue like this. No author would ever write dialogue like this. Nobody should ever write dialogue like this. Please take this as a word of advice. You do not need to say who is speaking every line of dialogue. That is a huge pitfall, and it really hampers the experience of this. Right, so let's pull up Destiny again. Destiny is just, clearly our destiny is destiny. By the way, that's a line Shane said. Me, as in Shane, me, I need help, I'm scared. Can you please make me look less of a lesbian? Destiny, aw, don't be so down on yourself, and people shouldn't judge you by your hair or your lifestyle. She thought I was a woman. Perfect. Oh, I didn't even include it. Okay, guys, at the beginning of every line of dialogue, it says who's speaking as it like me, Destiny, me, silence, me, Destiny. There's two characters in a scene. They're having a back and forth. You don't need to tell me who's speaking because Shane speaks different than Destiny. So you don't need to say Shane is speaking or Destiny is speaking. So there's one point in this when Shane has a musical, right? And there's the archetypical things about, oh, my high school wasn't the best. We weren't really good at things and we had a lot of scandals at our school, all that stuff. But the issue is that, you get something like a stereotypical, like grouchy play director, teacher person, and they're coming in and they're introducing themselves and establishing themselves as an authority. You guys have seen this in other films and TV before, I guarantee it. But the thing is that Shane describes who she is before she comes in, which is not bad, but he ends it by saying who she is, giving her name. And then her name comes up before her line of dialogue where she says, hi, my name is director lady, right? And that's annoying as hell and really pointless because you told me her name 3 times now in like a page. And I really hazard a guess what Stans would say to this, because then I'm almost certain you've never read a book, right? But I took the dialogue from that and I kind of changed it up so that way it's more in line with a typical book, right? With how you should write dialogue. And this isn't like oh, you have to do it this way, but trust me, it's gonna be easier to read a book if it's like this, right? Okay, but just please don't ever word your dialogue like text messages unless you're showing text messages or it's for like stylistic intent. But this is here as a crutch because he doesn't know how to say Destiny said or Shane said or what to do if I don't put it in. What if people don't know, right? The audience this is written for is high school. they've read a book. Like, the book, I feel like this book treats me as if I'm stupid, and I'm not. And honestly, I think that most high schoolers wouldn't want to be patronized. They already have enough of that in high school from teachers. But here's the dialogue. Here's what I changed it to. Okay, so description of Bunions. I changed her name to Mrs. Bunions, because why not? Description of Bunions, yada yada. She's entering the room. She snorts as she enters the room, saying, "Hello, drama club. I'm going to be your director. You can call me ma'am or Mrs. Bunions. And if you can't handle how I run a play, then you can get the fuck out." "Hey, Mrs. Bunions, I think I'm going to do what you said and leave now," said Shane. "I don't think you're getting off that easy, young man. I will pull you back here whether you like it or not." "I don't think you can touch me, Mrs. Bunions. That's against school policy." Mrs. Bunions snarls at Shane as he sheepishly returns to his chair. Doesn't matter if the dialogue's good or not. The point of that is to show that you don't need to say who's speaking every line of dialogue. I said, Shane said, you know? And if you want, you could be like, Shane whimpered or Shane this, but you don't need to do that for every line, right? Sometimes it's better to be straight and to the point, which is why I said Shane said, right? You can determine Shane's emotions in that line based off of the words he is saying. And you can tell how Mrs. Bunions feels based off of the words she is saying. And you don't need to say that Mrs. Bunions is speaking or Shane is speaking, because there's two characters and they're having a back and forth and there's a dialogue happening. This is really like not even, this is super basic stuff. You would see this stuff in like your high school English class. I get it. On one hand, I want flowery prose that explain a setting and show me where we are, because a lot of the kids reading this didn't grow up, you know, in the 2000s, 90s, you know, that period. That period has a very like distinct feeling and time and place. You can actually describe that feeling, time, and place really well because you lived it, and I think that would be really good. Think about The Outsiders. Kids read The Outsiders pretty regularly in school, and they really enjoy it. And they never lived it, and they don't know what it is, but they can understand what it is. One, because the drama is relatable regardless of the time difference, right? And two, they do a great job of showing what it's like to be alive during that time. And I understand that's flowery prose, but then on one hand, I want it to be straight and to the point with dialogue. You don't need to, you know, really drag it out by introducing somebody 3 times, you know? But these are different components of a larger skill set that makes an author or makes someone who writes books, right? And you don't need to be a professional author, you know, like not even a sponsor of this video, but like I use Skillshare. That's how I've been learning After Effects. But you learn skills that build a larger overarching skill like visual effects. So I'm learning, like what you just saw, that was masking at the beginning of the video. I'm learning a skill that's a component of a much larger skill that's under this name. That's what I'm giving here. I'm giving components to help people. That's what that is.
Totally gonna sit on my face later. Like.
And one of the interesting things about this book is not the humor or the horrible grammar or other things that are very minute. But what I enjoy about this book is not the themes of the essays, because those are boring. They're like, believe in yourself and be yourself and all that usual YouTuber book bull crap. What I enjoy about this is what I learned about Shane. I find him really, really interesting. Genuinely, not a joke. Seriously, he's actually compelling. This book and the movie, which we're about to get to, were written and happened at a time when Shane did not publicly come out as bi. And you can feel in this book, it's almost as if it's subtext, that Shane is personally struggling, he's struggling with his identity and how he feels about men and how he feels about himself and how he feels he is being portrayed to the world, if he's being masculine enough, if he's fitting that archetypal alpha male role. He doesn't want to be seen as a lesbian, for example, in the Supercuts Destiny story. You know, Shane's routinely talking about men he finds attractive in a book, but he's like, but I'm not gay, but I'm not gay, but I'm not gay, you know? And it's this kind of back and forth where Shane, you can tell he's trying to find himself and see if it's okay for him to be this thing. And that is such a more interesting story than him going for a fucking play, you know? And I get it, it's a funny, it's a lighthearted story, But I think a lot of younger people would appreciate a book more about Shane learning to understand that he's comfortable with loving who he wants, right? And being comfortable with who you are in that sense, rather than these kind of empty stories about like, I got a bad haircut, ain't that wacky? You know, I think it would resonate with a lot of young people more, considering that's the time in their life where they're trying to discover who they are and what they like and whether or not they like a girl or a boy or whatever, you know. That's a relatable struggle, and I understand he wanted to write a comedy book, but I think he actually, and based off of the movie, I think he honestly, genuinely should write a very low budget drama if he's gonna write another movie or write a book. I think he has it in him for that. I genuinely do. But I find that so much more interesting, personally. And I think it's really a damn shame that we never got that book. I really don't think it is. I just can't imagine he would. I feel like he can't take himself seriously because he doesn't believe in himself.
Hello, FPS Diesel from the editing room, and now I figured that if stans were going to sit down and listen to this entire hour-long diatribe about Shane Dawson's material, I'd like them to be happy to know that I started reading It Gets Worse, and I can tell you that that collection of essays is literally what I'm asking for here, but I will say that it's still filled with all that humor that kind of is either really funny or just like the exact opposite of funny in every sense of the word. Again, it's part of the problem where Shane doesn't know how to leave jokes on the cutting room floor, I think. But this second collection of essays is much stronger than his first. In fact, if anything, he should have wrote his first collection of essays that made up that book and then thrown them out and done a second book. You know, but obviously when you write autobiographies, and this is something I've heard from other people who write professionally, if you're gonna write something about yourself, have lived your life first, right? By the time that Shane is writing these books, he's fairly young and early on in his career. Honestly, if I want a Shane autobiography, I want a Shane that's been there and done that and lived it, right? So that way he can give commentary on what he did. It's kind of hard to do that in a moment. So I think he needs to put more time in between himself and those essays if he's gonna do that again. So the clips you're seeing on the screen right now are from It Gets Worse, which is his short film. And I will tell you this right now, this is probably some of the best work he's done. And I mean that without a hint of sarcasm. This is a great horror comedy short film. It really is. It pokes a lot of fun at who Shane Dawson is as a person at that point in time. It was almost like he was aware of what people were saying about him, right? Which seems to be something he's lost recently, and I think that's a shame. But this, by far, is the best work. Obviously, you know, as someone who personally likes being behind a camera, right? I think, you know, it's kind of boring to look at, you know, but a lot of horror comedies are, so I'm not going to really shirk him on that. But the comedy in this is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I quite enjoy this a lot. In fact, this one I will make sure is linked below so that way you can see it, because I quite enjoyed a lot in it. I think a lot of it is pretty funny. I think a lot of it is aimed at the right person, which is Shane in this case, right? But, you know, he pokes fun at the fact like, oh man, isn't it crazy how people thought I was racist because I did all those videos where I, you know, painted my face black, or, you know, there's scenes where they're like, oh, there's a Shane Dawson photo booth. Why are all the props just like food? It's like, oh yeah, because you got to put food in your mouth to make a Shane Dawson thumbnail. Like, it's good. I really like it. I think this is really good. It's really self-aware. And it's a shame that I don't think he's really retained a lot of that skill. I think he's kind of gotten lazy. Yep, that's what I think he has. I think he's gotten lazy.
I've had hard times. The last few years, I've had my fair share of controversies. You do one blackface video once a week for 4 years and now you're a racist.
Delivery for... Oh my god. You're...
I know.
Could I get a...
Selfie and a kiss on the cheek? Yeah, of course. Here, come on. Okay, say, he stopped me from killing myself.
What?
Oh, it's just something a lot of you guys say. Those my cupcakes?
So let's talk about not cool. Cue the vomit joke.
High school fucking sucked. But here's the thing about high school. It ends.
and you get to go to college, where no one knows that you were a bedwetter till 14 or that you broke your own hymen with a baby carrot. Only problem is, when the holidays roll around, you still have to go home.
Look, if there's a fart joke too, I will also put it in there. But I don't remember if there's a fart joke in this movie.
I'm gonna fart.
Oh, go ahead, honey.
No, it's gonna be so loud.
Oh, come on, we've been married for 25 years.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Okay, so what is not cool? Well, not cool is 90 minutes long. You know, this movie is really a footnote at the end of the day. It says and does nothing. Nothing happens for 91 minutes. I could say it's like American Pie, but like, you watch American Pie now, and like, there are jokes that are still funny. Not cool both pulls too many punches and doesn't pull enough. I feel as if the comedy is trying to be that silly Shane video, but it's also trying really hard to have characters. And it does not. I will say that Shane is basically acting as himself, and there's like this weird underlying feeling of self-hatred running under this movie. And I realize that Shane deals a lot with self-esteem, but I don't think of, like, I don't know, like other artists like have issues with self-esteem and they express it in different ways. But like, making yourself the sympathetic butt of the joke is like a little weird in my opinion. I will say though, for a 91-minute long movie, it felt much longer. By the way guys, just in case if you're curious, a short film is anything under 90 minutes. You can't have a theatrical release, you can't have a film unless it's 90 minutes long. I didn't make that, I didn't make that up. That's some old person's rule, right? But now routinely films are like 2 hours long. But when a film is 90 minutes long, it tells me that they were trying to make this a movie and it was a short film, and they were trying to stretch out like maybe 40 minutes worth of a movie to 90 minutes, and you know, they just wanted to have a movie. Maybe they were trying to get a tax break. There's a lot of budget movies that hit 90 minutes so that way they can get a theatrical release. Happens all the time. If you watch Red Letter Media, you know exactly what I'm talking about and exactly why they feel so blessed when something's 90 minutes and awful. Now, this movie very much copies all of the tropes of American Pie. I honestly think they were watching the movie when they were like, how can we do that, but with influencers? But I mean, on top of that, things like American Pie are classic. It's really not fair to compare the two, I get that, because one is practically cultural shorthand, and the other is a Shane Dawson movie. Like, if you want Shane Dawson's movie but good, watch Superbad. Like, McLovin is timeless, but I can't tell you a single thing that happened in this fucking movie. Like, you know, I have a full script here, but I honestly, none of it's like worth talking about. It's really that boring. I wrote 3 pages on this. 3 pages. You know how long that is? I took time out of my day, multiple days, to say something about the plot of this movie. It's just American Pie. I'm at a loss for words, guys, okay? I really genuinely am. The best moments of this movie are when Shane's characters come out. There's like 2 of them that show up in this whole movie. And they're honestly the best parts because they're so absurd that they stick out like sore thumbs, and it's hilarious. Like, just the sheer fact that these characters are here in this world of semi-realistic people dealing with drama, but also they're super horny, so they're talking about eating out buttholes and stuff. And then like just someone comes in and is like, oh, I had too many rutabagas and I've farted everywhere.
No bullshit, nothing is going on besides the start of our glorious evening.
No sex in the car, kids. Last thing I want to see is 2 underaged, semi-ethnic looking, possibly Native American teenagers making a mess on my brand new pleather interior, forcing me to lap it up like a golden retriever on a hot ass day. Oh, fuck.
Well, I feel safe.
Look, maybe I'm childish, but that's hilarious. That moment in the movie was hilarious because right before that moment, the guy who looks like Boy in a Band and Shane Dawson's movie sister, who's like Hispanic for some reason, I guess their mom was Hispanic and they died. Anyway, this Boy in a Band lookalike spent like the whole movie trying to get in this girl's pants. And he did that by like stalking her and then giving her the perfect date. And like, you know, it's an awkward situation, like a situational comedy kind of thing. Like when you just think about it, you're like, wow, that guy's weird. And he's kind of creepy. And he has a blog about his exploits. And he's making it up. The joke is that he's making it up. He's never done any of these things. But it's just that the fact that he goes through all these lengths to be like, I'm a man who gets mad pussy, ew. And maybe that's part of the joke, but it just does not commit to that. It does not commit to him being a gross person. It wants you to care about him. I don't want to care about him. And then like there's the Chloe character, like Chloe from Life is Strange, you know, where she's like, she wears dark clothes and she's bitchy and nobody liked her in school and she's an outcast from society, and don't worry, she's got a stereotypical gay friend. Oh boy.
Come on, Toy. Hit the dance floor. They just come to me.
Oh, what's wrong, Angelina Tori? Scared to lose?
No, I just hate dancing.
You seem to hate a lot of things.
Yeah, I do. I hate everything and everyone. It's kind of my thing.
This is all there is to her character, and it's so frustrating. How is this, like, a character doesn't have to be likable to be appealing? Completely. Like, I completely agree. And many of my favorite films, and probably some games, are about, like, immoral, deplorable characters. I fucking loved Good Time that's in theaters right now. But when she's so one-dimensional that literally every fucking thing that comes out of her mouth is just predictable bullshit.
To get David his stupid
She's like, I'm angsty. I'm upset. You know what's not cool? Society, man. Dude, don't judge me.
Anyway, the only character I can remember is Tori the Hoary, and that's the character I'm talking about here. And the only reason I can remember her name is because of that little rhyme that apparently, according to this movie's lore, Shane Dawson came up with because he was the coolest kid in high school. There is stuff about the movie I like that is more like original. For example, Tori has a sister who pretends to be blind because she can't stand her fiance, and her mother is like a massive, like, I mean, well, for lack of a better word, she's a hoe, you know, but they don't really commit to the fact that the mother's a hoe and she's like an awkward, like, you know, suburban mom. I will say though that Shane and Tori and their relationship, I did personally get a little invested in wanting to see them, you know, get together or like this conflict be resolved, you know, and I just wanted to see the other guy get arrested because he's a little weird. But, oh, there's a lawnmower running. I'll just sit here in silence and wonder why the fuck I can't make this video without something happening. You know, they're like, just not cool is like super, I don't know, boring. Like, that's all I can say. When I look at Shane's body of work and I look at his comedy stuff, I think it was strong, and I think it was strong for the time. I mean, he wouldn't be successful otherwise. But I think he could have adapted to now, but I think he was afraid because he didn't want to be canceled. And that didn't help him anyway. So there's that. But then you look at these docu-series that he does, and yeah, they're just vlogs. I understand he doesn't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just confine himself to being a documentarian in the traditional sense. Personally, I think the people who meld like documentary with personality the best is probably Vice. Yeah, I know, I'm complimenting them. But genuinely, there's like people that work there and show up in like Vice's travel guide to blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I remember them, I recognize them. I'm excited to watch it when there's certain hosts there. People are excited to watch Shane's documentaries because Shane's in it. I think if Shane was like, my name's Shane Dawson and I'm going to Botswana and we're gonna film it, and this is me, you know, Shane Dawson's travel guide to Botswana, I'd watch it. I think that'd be much more interesting. Shane's completely out of his element. He's getting involved with a culture that he's never met or been involved with his entire life. I think on one hand it would be funny because we could all laugh at the white guy who doesn't understand that malaria exists. But then on the other hand, we could also learn things And I think Shane wants to do that, but I don't know. When I look at Shane's new channel, it reads more like I'm trying to please everybody. When I look at Shane's old channel, it's a expression of comedy and passion, right? And I see that there. And I'm not saying he has to go back to that. You know, move forward, don't do the same thing. But I don't think he's making content for himself right now. And I know I'm giving him like, oh, you should do this or this or this. These are more practical, mechanical devices and helping suggestions to make something that is more compelling, which as a YouTuber, I think we'd want to make something compelling. It's part of the job. It's the only reason people will stay. But I think if he did, it would be better. Do I think Shane Dawson is a mediocre artist? Well, I don't think he's a good writer, but I think he could be better. It's a skill that can be learned, and I definitely know it can be. And these books are not good. Or at least I hate Myselfie is. I don't know about the other one, but I'm not reading another Shane Dawson book. I cannot. So in closing, let's talk about the fandom. Y'all are awful, man. You know, and you know, this is why I kind of want to separate Diesel the person from Diesel the character more, because this is like awful stuff and I don't like it. And it's just really just, you know, it's a microcosm of a much bigger issue that is the parasocial relationship. It's something that we've practically normalized with the advent of social media. You know, it's gotten much worse. And that fanaticism is bad, and I genuinely do think it's bad for society. Yeah, I know, okay. Mr. Philosopher here. I see a lot of these comments, and they couldn't really get me on anything. So there was like a couple of different things, either like, oh, you're pretentious, which I don't give a shit, whatever, fuck you. I talk big, I give big word. That's fine, I don't mind. I don't mind all the hate or like kill yourself or blah, 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 or whatever. I don't mind that. I do think it's a little awful though when people do things that like, you know, are targeted towards my family and stuff like that. And you know, look, if there's one thing for Hispanics, they love their family very much. That's why there's so many of them. But, you know, I made offhanded sarcastic remarks about the Backstreet Boys World Tour. And people were like, oh, you joked about the Backstreet Boys World Tour? Serves you right that you got it then. If this was any other time, you'd be dead. It's like, you better not make fun of that. You're gonna die. You're gonna win the Darwin Award for joking about that. Well, honestly, you know what? If you're that awful of a person and you think I should die, first of all, you didn't care about the issue until I insulted your mans. So you literally don't stand for anything, okay? The only thing you stand for is Shane Dawson, who will not give you anything. But no, please, tell me that me and my family, yeah, we deserve to die because I said the YouTuber you love, but I think his content could be better. The other one to that was, oh, I'm spreading fake news. And honestly, look, if you're watching me talk about the Backstreet Boys World Tour in a joking manner, if it's not a serious video, and you can tell a serious video on my channel, I'm very clear, I make a very big difference. But if you can't tell the difference and you take my advice like, oh, you know, if you inject apple cider vinegar into your veins, you'll be cured of all diseases, then you know what? I don't think I really need to stop you because that's really stupid. If you genuinely lack the intellect to figure that out, I don't know what I can do for you, all right? That is bananas that you'd say that. The videos I did on Backstreet Boys World Tour, you know the serious videos on that, okay? If you've watched the channel, you know how I feel, right? But you know what? I don't think I'll give, you know, personal details of my life as much because honestly, it's pretty bad. It just blows my mind that these people could be so horrendous. Not even like K-pop stans, I will tell you one thing. They stayed together. Their narrative stayed the same. Shane Dawson stans, on the other hand, Wild West, all right? Literally, they're like, I don't care what we do. I just know he needs to be stopped in right now. Like literally, this was like US military intervention standards of stan warfare right here. So have my opinions on the stans changed? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, I think they're much worse now. I don't think Shane would approve of any of it either. I think it's all pretty freaking horrendous. Shane's a big man. He can handle some criticism. I don't think he has enough people in his life who tell him no, and that's why he constantly gets taken advantage of like, he needs people who say things like, oh, this is bad, you need to improve on this. There's too many people just clapping for him. He genuinely does need that. People need that in their lives. It can't just all be compliments. Look, if you got a valid criticism, if you think it's unfair for me to compare Shane's stuff to other filmmakers, that's fine. I get that. You know, I'm just using it as an example of what's good mechanically, or what I think is good mechanically, and that's just my fucking opinion, right? And if you don't agree with it, that's fine, right? But it's another thing when you're like, yeah, this guy, I wish he wasn't alive anymore. I wish he would stop breathing. Well, you know what? Honestly, random commenter, if you stopped breathing, less people would care about you stopping breathing, okay? Like people, like maybe like 10 people would be like, oh man, I miss him, you know? How many people are gonna miss you? All right, Jesus. Not to be an asshole, but like, holy shit. I genuinely, it was, blew my mind. Blew my mind. Anyway, at this rate, I'm gonna probably do a much larger kind of documentarian style video on parasocial relationships and the history of stans. Why not? You know, I got opinions on it, they're very strong, and I don't think these stans are gonna change at all from the things I said in this video. I don't think so at all. You know, I'm really preaching to the choir, but you know, I think I'm allowed to be annoyed. But yeah, why not? If you wanna see that video about the origins of stans and stan culture and the psychological effects of what happens when you love a celebrity too much, leave a like, leave a comment saying you want that. All right, I know this was a talky video, but geez, you know what? I honestly, stans, Shane Dawson stans, you guys are like bottom of the tier list on people I'd want to meet. Thank you very much.